Hey there guys, welcome back to another deck profile with yours truly, Paul Reissmann. Today we are taking a look at my T2 deck that I ran against Dalton in our recent week's feature match. Let's dig in.
This session brought to you by Odyssey Games for pre-orders and sealed product, CCG Prime for tons of singles and supplies, Cardo Doko for international rulers looking for product, and FoulLibrary.com for articles and wonderful deck lists, as well as our guest lecturer members Vite Ramen, King Pearl Shine, and Mognite. Class is in session.
Alright guys, so welcome to the T2 deck profile. T2, the GooBoi, has been something I've highly anticipated as we went into this particular cluster. I thought this was such a cool looking potential character. What could his mechanic be? We know that he's red and blue. What do we do with that? And truly, he got some really cool stuff. He uses metal life forms to fuse, which is really dope. And then if you end up fusing with cards that are already on the field, you actually get to draw a card if this thing is face up. So this has some interesting implications for how to play the deck. But let's move on, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I play one Mysterious Messenger to search for my one-cost metal life form. Usually that's rare metal. Plus it corrects for your will, which is really nice. And then I play one Child of the Crimson Moon to be able to recover my my Dendrobium essentially and swing in for game. So this is a really good way of stacking up damage in a single turn really fast and really easily. So this thing is really good for that. I'm playing 4 of Metamorphosis and Dendrobium. So this is a really good draw spell, but more often than not, I use it to just contract right into the 1313 that gains all of these metal life forms through fusion as he comes into the field, which means you get to do some really nutty effects with something like Metal Life Form Mermaid, where you get to bounce 2 things to the bottom of the deck, which is really nice. This thing is just amazing. I love the art, the concept behind it. I just thought it was really, really cool. I also play 4 of the Death Metal. This is one of your main combo cards. As long as you have Dendrobium and that's it, this thing is going to have Eternal plus all of the other symbol skills that it has through the fusion mechanic. When it enters, you draw 2 and then you can banish 2 to produce 2 will. This is really, really great, although this thing has a really hard time cracking through Child of the Light Moon. That's a really huge thing that you have to pay attention to when you're playing this. There are ways to sort of get around and pivot away from that play line, but that was one of the main weaknesses I saw with this card. Otherwise, it's a really good draw spell. It stays in the field to give your stuff Eternal, which is really nice. But if you can't get the full value out of it, it kind of feels weird to play it. So you have to kind of anticipate it and play it with attention. I play 4 rare metal. I think this is the most important metal life form. This is the one you have to get in order for your Dendrobium to be really sticky, no pun intended, to stay on the board and to do what he wants to do. With this, Dendrobium is a 1717, which is already respectable. So this thing is just really solid all the way around. I actually do not play any of the solid cards, the metal solid cards. And the reason is because I just felt like they were getting in the way. I was trying to combo off and trying to get my stuff going, and I would draw like a rare, like a metal gun solid or a metal shield solid and just be like, great, I did not need this. I needed a combo piece. And so I just kind of felt really bad about that. Plus, Metal Gun Solid just wasn't wiping the board. And so I just kind of took those out. I really didn't feel like I was ever trying to be defensive with Dendrobium. I was always trying to apply pressure. And so those feel like they just sort of distracted away from that strategy overall. I play 2 of the Wolf. Ideally, I would draw into at least 1 of the rare metal, and then I can search out the Wolf with the Mysterious Messenger ruler. But this just gives your Dendrobium swiftness. Metal Lifeform Mermaid is probably the best piece of spot removal in the deck. Just tuck a non-Magic Stone, non-J ruler that your opponent controls. Actually, you or your opponent controls. I don't know why you would ever target yourself, but you can if you want to. This just tucks 2 things when it comes in with Dendrobium, so that's really helpful. Plus, you know, it's a decent 2-drop on its own. It's a 6/6. It's going to tuck something. It's really solid, and it's really good in the mirror match too. Play 2 of the Metal Lifeform Dragon. I never found myself saying I really wanted this thing more often than I already did. If I drew into it, I was like, cool, this is going to be gas for me to remove later with one of my accelerant cards. Really, if I was slowing down to use the activate ability, it was really just to get Dragon out of my hand and deal a little bit of extra damage. And that's really all it was used for. Other than that, like, I'm not playing this thing onto the field. I'm not trying to tuck it underneath another one of my metal life forms. I'm just trying to get this thing out of my hand as fast as possible. It does have flying, and it does deal that little extra damage, which is the only reason I considered him at 2. But other than that, he's okay. He's still better than the rabbit, in my opinion. I play one of the School of Fish. This is just to give me a little bit more of a removal option. I played this over the rabbit because I like to attack over things sometimes to just get problematic things off the board. In all my playtesting, one of the main things this deck struggles with, even with things like Metal Gun Solid and with Metal Helix, is doing enough damage to wipe your opponent's board of all of the problematic stuff. So I just wanted a few more removal options for once Dendrobium actually got online, and this felt really comfortable to me to have in the deck, at least at 1. I play one of the Metal Lifeform Hawk just to give it my Dendrobium Pierce. This is just another way of ensuring that I actually can attack through a blocker. If I need to pivot, I like having the Violet here just as another flyer who can also just suck up Fusion and have Eternal with Death Metal on the field. When I attack, it helps me to thin the deck a little bit and do some additional damage and do some interesting things, just to kind of like help me get some stuff online. Other than that, I never really felt myself wanting this card. It's fine. It's an option in case you don't see your contract for some reason. But it's really solid, and it's another metal life form that can go into the remove from game, which is really helpful. I played 3 Metal Helix. 4 just felt like too much for doing too little. The best thing about this card is that it removes things from your deck from the game and draws you 2 cards. The damage is incidental, and I think that's fine. It gets rid of some like lower 10 or lower stuff, which is really nice, but for everything else, this is just, it feels like more of an accelerant than it is anything else. So Metal Helix, it's fine. I think 3 is perfectly okay, but it's still not doing enough like board wiping for me to warrant it going to 4. I play 4 setting the stage because I am a combo deck and I want to get my combo off, so don't target my stuff on the chase with your Memory of Worlds or your Fair's Spell, etc. Plus it's an additional draw card, which is really nice. Speaking of Fair's Spell, I play 4 Fair's Spell because I do not want you to cancel my stuff, so I will cancel your stuff in response. Plus, there's a little bit of a mind game going here. As you can see, I have just like all red, blue magic stones down here, so just sliding these in and being able to correct for the color using the Crimson Moonchild kind of throws my opponent off sometimes because they're like, oh, he's not playing green stones. Well, I have green cards and I get to play them, so here you go. I think Fair Spell, again, is probably the quintessential cancel spell for your locals. This card's really solid for that. So I played 4. I just thought it was really solid. I tried Memory of Worlds. It didn't really feel like it was doing what I needed it to do. This definitely put in a lot more work for me, but that's just my feedback. So now we get into the legacy support, the other stuff that other people are not using that I was super excited to use. I'm playing 4 Orb of Disaster Ifrit Glass. This is a free card off the top of your deck, and then if you need something from your RFG, you just pay 2 red to crack it, and you just get something back, however, whatever it might be. So if you end up throwing your Metamorphosis contract out into the RFG, you can crack and find it again. It's also a really good way of, if you cast Death Metal and your opponent decides that they are going to use Child of the Light Moon on you, or you have the enter of your Death Metal on the chase, this is a really good way of using the will to sort of get around that and have it not feel like it's been wasted. So Orb of Disaster is really good for that, and it's a classic. I love this card. I never got to use it back in the day, so I was really glad I got to use it here. And then my favorite card of this whole deck, and the one card that for some reason took me so long to remember this card is good, Gatekeeper of Vizjerei. This card single-handedly took this deck from like kind of mediocre to a contender, at least in my play testing sessions with Dalton. Basically, this enters, and you can remove any number of cards in your hand from the game to draw that many cards. This card is absolutely fantastic. Really good combo card. It really just lets this deck do what it wants to do without much trouble. If you got 3 metal life forms in hand and you're like, these are totally useless in hand, just cast this on your opponent's turn, remove those 3, and then you draw 3, and then you draw your normal draw for the turn, and that's it's just straight value. So this card is amazing in this deck. Some folks are playing, I gotta remember what the card is, a Tentative Asmodeus, which I thought, you know, kind of makes sense. It recovers your stones and stuff, and that seems okay, but for a 2-drop in a format with Memory of Worlds, it just felt really risky to me. This was a really good alternative, and it's in color, so I really appreciated this. I kind of mentioned before, I'm running 4 red-blue magic stones. I mean, the pain stone kind of hurts, literally. But again, I think there's like a little bit of a mental thing of like, oh, you're not running any green stones. Whoops, you have Fair Spell. So whether that's relevant or not, whether or not that's something even Dalton thought about, I don't know. But this is still, I think it's kind of funny. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. Is this how you're running T2? Do you think T2's interesting? Are you passing them by, looking forward to the next set? You just let me know down in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell, and hit that like button. And until next time, this has been Paul, signing off.